Good morning. Today we'll start our discussion with another topic from Unit 3, that's command line arguments. So before we get into action and see what is command line arguments, I have a question for which I'm expecting an answer. So the question is, here we go. The question is, can main function in C take inputs? Can main function take inputs? We all know that main is a user-defined function. So any function in general is expected to take inputs, give the return type, expected to return some values. So here comes the question. We know that int main returns an integer, main expects an integer back. So now the question is, can main function take inputs? Yes or no? The answer is obviously yes. Yes, main function in C can take inputs, and therefore the process of main function in C taking inputs is known as command line arguments. So arguments means inputs, command line means command prompt. So the process of passing inputs to the main function through command prompt or command line of a program is known as command line arguments or command line arguments. So how does command line arguments work? What is the prototype of a main function? What kind of arguments does main function take? So main function takes a predefined set of arguments, which is of the type int argc, char star argv. So this is what the main function takes. Int argc, char star argv. So what is int argc? So argc and argv are the two arguments. One is an integer and the other is a array of pointers, a character vector, which is argv. Argv stands for argument values and argc stands for argument count. So main function takes a list of inputs, list of argument values through the command prompt, and when you give a list of values through the command prompt, the values are taken, stored in the argv vector, and automatically argc updates the count to the number of arguments given. So each argument is given separated via a space. So the main takes are two arguments of type. This is how the prototype looks. The main function looks like void main or int main in material. It takes two arguments, int argc, char star argv. Argc maintains argument count and argv maintains argument value. So let us take up a C program and see why is it used. So imagine if inputs to your program are expected from elsewhere. You want your main program to take inputs on its own. Then the only way to do that is using command line arguments. The process of main function taking inputs through command prompt is known as command line argument. So how do we explain this concept? So this is pretty easy. Main function takes int argc, char star argv. There's nothing that we do with argc. Argc is automatically updated value based on the number of values that we give through the command line. So therefore the number of arguments are there in argc, which stores an integer value, and char star argv. So therefore it is in terms of pointers, addresses. So therefore I just use %ls to print out all the values that are given. So this is a simple C program that is used for us to understand where does all this values comes from. So before we go further, there's something that all of us need to understand at this point of time. So what is that? Basically, command line arguments has a main function which takes two arguments of type argc and argv. So there's a lot to talk about argv. Argv is argument vector which stores the values of the arguments that we give. So essentially, argv is an array vector. So argv of 0 always has the file name, the file which you're running. So argv essentially always have the file name. From argv of 1 to so on argv of n or n minus 1. If the argc count is n, then from 1 to n minus 1, you'll all have the values separated by a space. So you give value 1, space value 2, space so on, value n, and finally you'll press enter. So this is how you tend to give your output. So therefore, before we check out the output of a program, we'll first see how do we run this program. How do we run a program which has command line arguments? So therefore, let's take up this one. How do we run a program which has command line arguments? So there are two things that we need to essentially consider before we start running a program which has command line arguments. Point number 1. Where is your .exe file stored? Any C program, we all know, passes through three phases. One is the source code, which is the original high-level language program that we write. Then it is taken by compiler, produces an object code. Then it is taken up by a runner, which produces. Then it is taken up by a loader and a linker, which produces executable code. So executable code plus inputs gives results. So this is the formula all of us know. This is the formula that all of us need to remember. So essentially, inputs are passed via command line. That's what we are talking about. But how? We also need to know where is the location of the executable file. So go back to your editor, go back to your compiler, check out where your .exe file is stored. So basically in my machine, my .exe files are stored in a source folder. So before you start running how to run your command line arguments, you're talking about how to run your programs which has command line arguments. So therefore, step 1, go to the folder. Step 1, go to the folder where you have your executable file. Go to the folder where you have your executable file. Step 2, this is how you run your program. Go back to your DOS prompt, select C:/folder name where you have your executable file, :name of the executable file, space inputs. So if I want to give a list of inputs, example, if my program is there in source folder, then I write source, p1.exe. If p1 is my executable file, space list of inputs 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on. So this is how, after that press enter to run your program. So this is how you do. So how to run your command line program? You need to know where the name of the executable file is, and you also need to know, you also then need to give the input. So let us try seeing an output. So this is a simple C++ program. So this is a simple C program where you use your program to. So this is my program, Alt F, save your code, compile and run. Basically run produces no output. So when you check, it says c:/source-cmd1.exe. So source is the folder, as I told you, in my computer where my .exe file is found. So therefore it's time for us to move to the folder where you have your .exe file. So Alt F, this is how you work on. Go to DOS shell. Bin is essentially the place where all your .c files are stored. So therefore cd ... change it to source. You are in your source folder. The name of my program is cmd1.exe. So cmd1.exe, name of the executable file, space inputs. So my inputs are, imagine I want to give hello world 1, 2, 3, enter. So this is how you can see your output. The output is, as I mentioned, always the first one is the name of the executable file. The complete path is seen, as we can observe, it is c:/tc/source/cmd1.exe. So the executable files in my machine are present in source folder, which is a part of TC in C drive. So therefore this is the complete path of my executable file. The first argument is hello. As the inputs are separated with a space, the first one is hello, next one is world, as I typed, next is 1, 2, 3. So you can run this program again by just typing any kind of inputs that you want to name. So this is how you run your program. Name is cmd1.exe space the inputs that you want to give 1, 2, 3, 4, sum n. How many ever inputs you give, all that is taken. So if you can count on, it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. So the number of inputs, number of arguments are 9, as it is seen here. Number of arguments are 9. So 9 arguments followed by 12, 3, 4 in this one. So yes, enter. So how do you come out of this? The one way of coming out of this is press type exit, go back, and you are at your folder. So save your code. This is how you run your program. So let us see another example where we try to add two numbers that are given as input through command line for a main program. So let's see another program. Open, enter cmd2. So I'm elsewhere. So Alt F. bin/cmd2.c. Okay. This is my program, cmd2.exe. So this is a program that is used to add two numbers. The main program is here expecting just two inputs. One is the name of the executable file followed by two numbers. That's it. So only when my argument list is equal to 3, I only require 3 inputs. We all know that the values are stored in a character pointer. So therefore, there is a function called a2i which is available in ctype.h or in stdio.h, which is used to convert a given string into integer. So a2i converts alphabet to integer. So you convert your second argument which is there in argv of 1, that's the first number that you give, and your third argument which is there in argv of 2 into integers, and then add those. So Alt F save, Alt C compile, Alt R run. Run produces no output because insufficient list of arguments. You're not there in your bin folder, so get back. Alt F, yes, Alt F. Go to DOS shell. Run your program, cmd2.exe. Imagine I just gave one input and checked out. It says insufficient list of arguments. So let's run again. cmd2.exe space any input. So 15 and 19 are my two inputs. So my answer is 34. 15 plus 19 is obviously 34. So let's check out by giving some more inputs. 15, 19, 6, 8. It again says insufficient list of arguments because my program is simply expecting only two inputs other than the name of the executable file, which is cmd2.exe. So if you want to add a large number of values that you get through your command prompt, so how do you modify this program to add large number of values? Let us do that and close this concept. So save as, let's write another program, cmd33.c, cmd33.c. So let's save this, Alt F save, Alt C compile, Alt R run. Okay, yes. So n number of inputs that are given through this. So therefore, for I is equal to 1, I less than argc, I plus plus. What do we mean by this? S is equal to 0, comma I. What do you mean by this? We know that this at 0, argv of 0 is always the name of the executable file. So start your inputs from 1, I less than argc, I plus plus. Now let's write this. S is equal to S plus A2I of argv of I. So you start adding your inputs. This is how you add. S is equal to, or in other words, S plus is equal to. Same, how do you write? But imagine if I give some characters out of it. So what if I give some strings or text in between? So I have one thing. So only if there is something called as is_alnum, which expects if it is a number you can do it, otherwise it adds only something. So the advantage of S2, okay, let's check out with A2I. What is the advantage of A2I? A2I is a function which is used to convert a number into variable, a number which is in terms of a string into variable. So what does essentially A2I return? A2I returns 0 for all non-character type inputs, and it returns the value of the number if it is an number. So therefore, Alt F save, yes, Alt C compile, escape, Alt C compile. No if, so therefore else makes no sense. Save, yes, Alt C compile. Okay. So here we go. This is the output. Sum is 15. Thank you.